bell at the end of the 5th round. It's after midnight here at the Bull Ring in Mexico City. As we go to the 6th round, Julio César Chávez to the right of your screen, Frankie Randall in green to the left of your screen. All right, here we go. Round number 6. Big right hand crash to the left eye socket of Frankie Randall that time, thrown by Chávez. Frankie seems to be all right in the legs. Up on his toes, coming forward as Chávez backs off, dances around to his right. The noticeable thing with the age difference that I see with Frankie is, you know, his nickname was the Surgeon, and his pinpoint control that he had of his hands 4 or 5 years ago just isn't there tonight. On a couple of occasions when he's wanted to throw, he hasn't just been able to get the shot off, and at other times he's looked awkward with some of his punches. And of course, that's what age robs a guy of, and a guy working as hard as well-conditioned as Frankie is, he doesn't realize that. Now look what he says, come on, keep it clean, stop grabbing and grappling. Let's keep the fight going well. We're in the 6th round. Right in the center of the ring, in his green trunks is Frankie Randall with his hands high, dances towards Chávez. Chávez at times has been able to land those shots behind the elbow of Frankie Randall. Frankie Randall really hasn't landed any surgeon-like punches throughout the course of the fight. Every once in a while he'll throw a looping shot which will catch Chávez, but it doesn't seem to do much damage. Chávez with 2 good body shots again, and he's done that throughout the course of the fight. And you wonder how much more time Frankie can take the punishment. Just when you think that it might be catching up with him, he explodes again. Chávez tries to work downstairs in the 6th round here. Frankie walks him down, gets him with his back up against the ropes. Circling around is Chávez, and Frankie throws some shot, and Julio knows how to tie him up. They're shadows of their former selves, but there's no quit in either one of them. A lot of pride. Right hand gets through, but it doesn't hurt Chávez that time. It catches him, and that's a punch that would have, in his prime, flattened a lot of guys. Under a minute to go now in the 6th round. This is scheduled for 10. Neither fighter has been down, neither fighter visibly shaken. Nobody cut. Been several borderline low blows thrown by Chávez. Crisp right hand inside by Frankie, but again, the right hand power shot of Frankie doesn't seem to be hurting Chávez whatsoever. And those are punches that would have been punishing a short time ago. That was a double left hand followed up by the right hand of Chávez. That dropped many guys, and Frankie now is beginning to show some serious signs of fatigue. As I say that, he gets his hands back up and kind of plods forward. Closing seconds now of the 6th round of this fight. Frankie's legs seem very, very heavy as the bell ends the 6th round, and Chávez lets go at the bell. That's another Chávez round. On my scorecard, I've got it 59-55 in favor of Julio César Chávez. Chávez has just landed more blows. No quitting Frankie Randall as we come up to the 7th round. Take a look at the work ethic of both of these men here in 6th round action. And take a look at the face of Frankie Randall. He really looks like he's very, very fatigued. As you see him leaning up against the ropes, his legs outstretched. And whether we get another round or so out of him is the big question. Again, the pace for these two guys at their age has been very, very good. They haven't been boring us whatsoever. They're working hard. There's a noticeable lack of power off the hands of Frankie Randall. And for that matter, there's a lack of power for Julio César Chávez. But it's going to be a fatigue factor probably that will end this fight. Frankie just got clipped by a short, crisp left hook across the eyes. Is Chávez. You get the idea that Chávez is in 2nd gear now, that he may want to finish this thing off. Frankie's legs look very heavy in the thighs and in the knees right now, although he tries to bounce up on his toes to get some circulation through those legs, which seem very, very heavy at age 42 at a mile altitude here in Mexico City. Chávez is trained in the mountains and he's used to the altitude. He's fought many, many times here in Mexico City, so he knows what it's all about. 7th round is scheduled for 10. Frankie the Surgeon Randall, decked out in the green trunks to the right of your screen. Now with his back to you, Chavez facing you now to the right of your screen. Chavez gets the jab off, then the body blow underneath the elbow of Frankie Randall. Pace is slowed down a little bit here, and as I say that, they both open up their punches. The crowd is starting to chant Chavez, Chavez as the right hand flies and catches Frankie. But the noticeable lack of power has Randall still on his feet. Chavez with the good body shots from time to time here. You can see the sparks that were once there in the great champion that he was, as he still has the ability to land those shots behind the elbow. Frankie continues to plod forward, and as the rounds continue to go by, his legs look heavier and heavier. Frankie now has to hang on. He doesn't have as much bounce in those legs as he had a couple of rounds ago. A lot of that has to do with the body shots, and a lot has to do with the high altitude here in Mexico City. Nice uppercut, left hook by Chavez. Is Frankie trying to throw some more shots, but notice how many shots that Frankie misses. And the guy, again, I use the term the surgeon, he didn't miss shots like that when he was in his prime. Both guys trying to put on a good show for the crowd in attendance here. Chavez loading up shots to the body, and he gets the crowd's attention, I should say, very rapidly. Anything that Chavez does, there's a nice left hand to get through by Chavez. Body shots. You notice the pace for these guys in the 7th round. 41 is Chavez and 42 is Randall, and both of them outside the ring have done their fair share of partying, so they had to get back and train very, very hard for this fight. And obviously the fact that they're in the 7th round and the pace of the fight through 7 rounds has been nothing short of very, very good. We're in the closing seconds now of the 7th round of this fight. Many people had expected this to go for 3 or 4 rounds. The bell ends the 7th, and both guys throwing at the bell. Look at my scorecard. I've got a Chavez 69, Randall 64 as we come up to the 8th round of this fight. Take a look at the replay and see how hard they're working for you. Frankie lands some shots inside. Julio César Chávez blasting away with the left hand, catches Frankie by the right eye. Finally, Frankie has to hang on. Coming up to the 8th round of this scheduled 10-round affair here at the Plaza de Toros in Mexico City, and the farewell fight for the career of Julio César Chávez. Wonderful crowd turned out to bid him adieu. And here we go, round number 8. Again, Randall in green, Chavez in the white trunks. I take a look at my scorecard. I've got it again, 69-64 in favor of Chavez. Chavez, to me, has landed more clean blows in more rounds than has Frankie Randall. I gave Randall the 4th round and Chavez pretty much everything else. Frankie gets the left hand through, and I look at concern in the face that time of Julio César Chávez. Let's fly with the left hand. Now Chavez drops his hands for the first time in the fight and backs off a bit. Frankie comes forward, let's fly with the right hand, but it just grazes Chavez. Straight right hand catches Chavez by Frankie Randall that time. Chavez with his back to the ropes, and he doesn't fight well with his back to the ropes. Trying to get Frankie to come in, and then he'll come with an uppercut or a couple of light left hooks, and then try to land a big right hand. Now Chavez says to Frankie, come on in here, come to me. Frankie stands up, tries to make Chavez come to him. Chavez comes forward, the right hand sails over the head of Frankie Randall. Randall comes forward and he cracks Chavez with a pretty good right hand. But again, that's the one thing that I notice at this age, that never mind the fact that he doesn't have that pinpoint surgeon-like control that he had of his hands, and that he doesn't get off as quick, but he doesn't have the power that he had, of course, early in his career when he was a younger man. And I'll tell you this, what they lack in the age 40 bracket, they certainly don't lack in desire, because there's been a pretty darn good pace to this fight. Frankie Randall held 3 world titles. Julio César Chávez held 6 world titles in 3 different weight classifications. And while Well, make no mistake about it, you watch the shadow of their opponent selves in the case of both fighters. It's pretty entertaining in that they're working so hard at this age to try and make a statement against the other. Each man is trying to make a statement against his opponent. Frankie thought he was robbed in the second fight. The WBC rule that indicates that you lose a point if you are not cut. The accidental headbutt actually cost him the second fight. He was ahead in most of the scorecards, and Chavez ended up with it by the virtue of losing the point that Frankie Randall lost in his scorecard. Chavez got the decision. This is round 8. This is today. This is Chavez-Randall 3. Pace continues pretty good. In the 8th round here as Chavez and Randall work extremely hard. Third man in the ring, Lupe Garcia's working pretty hard as well. These two guys continue to keep their hands free and let the hands fly now as we come up to the closing seconds of the 8th round. Both guys throwing a lot of punches. Frankie looks like he's hurt.